gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Hice, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This hearing is about examining the harm to patients from abortion restrictions, and I would just contend that the primary patient in abortion is the baby, and the harm done to the baby is permanent. It is death. Dr. Wubbenhorst, let me come to you. Pro-abortionists want to convince the public that in the abortion debate we are talking about anything but a human life. Recently, a prominent Democrat who I referred to earlier, Stacey Abrams, said, quote, "There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her," end quote. How do you respond to that?
Thank you for the question, Congressman Hice. I would respond to that by saying that, as I mentioned a bit ago, there is a fetal heartbeat whether we hear it or not, and we use instruments to amplify that sound. The fetal heartbeat is detectable initially as a twinkling, typically around between possibly as early as 5 weeks. We know that many of the major structures of the fetal heart are complete between the 5th and the 6th week. And so there's no question that this is just not that the fetal heartbeat is a random contraction of cells. There's coordinated movement that's well documented. It's documented in the radiology literature. It's documented in the obstetrical literature. And so I think that the question as to whether this is a manufactured sound, again, as I said, the fetal heart is beating early in pregnancy. And the other point that I think is very important to make is that we rely on assessments of the fetal heart rate, presence or absence of the fetal heartbeat, in order to assess fetal health and to provide reassurance to parents. One of the most exciting things that can happen for parents is hearing their baby's heartbeat for the first time.
I would think that most doctors involved in this whole process, from one way or the other, understand that the baby is a patient.
Yes, sir.
And so the claim that the overwhelming consensus is that abortion is health care, would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree. And as I said earlier, I respectfully disagree with assertions to the contrary, simply because, as I've said, internists don't perform abortion, and most obstetrician gynecologists don't perform abortions. If abortion was essential health care, why is it that greater than 85% of us don't do it?
Yes, exactly. That was the point I was hoping you would bring out. That does not sound like a consensus at all. In fact, it sounds like more misinformation to pretend that the consensus of doctors in this field believe that abortion is health care. Another deceptive tactic by pro-abortionists is to say abortion restrictions will somehow deprive women of treatments for miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies. How do you respond to that?
Miscarriage treatment is not an abortion. Abortion is a procedure which ends intrauterine pregnancy, which is living, whereas a miscarriage is a miscarriage has occurred when there has been a demised fetus, and therefore you are not proceeding with the intent to kill or take a human life. For an ectopic pregnancy, which is extrauterine or perhaps in parts of the uterus, fallopian tubes, or in the body of the uterus, these pregnancies, if not attended to, can result in devastating consequences, but performing a procedure or administering medication to terminate an ectopic pregnancy is not an abortion.
Thank you very much. Final question. Pro-abortionists also claim that abortion is necessary for women due to high rates of maternal mortality. Would you agree with that? What's your reaction to that kind of claim?
It's not true based on any science. There are no studies that show that increasing rates of abortion decrease maternal mortality. In fact, until recently, countries where abortion was criminalized and prohibited, and I'm thinking in particular of Chile and Ireland, and I think Cyprus, had the lowest rates of maternal mortality in the world. For several years consecutively, Ireland had 0 maternal mortality at a time when abortion was completely illegal.
Thank you very much. I found your written statement to be fascinating, and the research there that you provided was incredible. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
You're welcome, sir.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland.